Hello everyone, welcome to the Film Recaps, and today I'm going to explain an action monster film called The Host. Be ready for some spoilers ahead. In the underground facility of a morgue, a senior pathologist complains about the cleanliness of the room. He instructs his assistant to throw away the chemicals down the sink because they are covered in dust. The assistant is shocked, knowing this is a clear violation of the law. The head scientist threatens his job, forcing the assistant to empty the numerous bottles into the sewage. Over time, people begin noticing strange creatures in the lake, but they ignore the potential consequences. In another part of the city, a salaryman plans to commit suicide by jumping into the river. Before he does, he notices a large shadow in the water. Seeing that his co-workers are unaware of the danger, he bids them goodbye and jumps in. Gang-do, the son of a convenience store owner, is not very competent at his job and often falls asleep. His father Hee-bong is unsatisfied with him and tells him to wake up and attend to the customers. Although Gang-do is lazy and inept, he loves his daughter very much, even though she has a very low opinion of her father, just like everyone else. They watch television together and cheers for Gang-do's sister, Nam-jo, a national archery champion competing for first place. Suddenly, a news flash reports the body of the salaryman, but half of his body is missing, as if something bit him before he died. Hee-bong tells his son to get back to work because the customers are complaining about their orders. Gang-do delivers the food, but notices everyone staring at the river. They see a strange creature under the bridge and wonder what it is. The creature starts moving and eventually drops into the water. The people walk closer to the riverbank, and Gang-do throws a can of beer at the creature, which it quickly takes underwater. Everyone starts throwing garbage into the river, and soon the creature disappears, leaving nothing but trash in the water. Just when Gang-do is about to leave, he sees the giant creature on the shore, charging toward the people and knocking them into the river. Everyone runs in fear while the monster tramples the spectators and attacks them furiously. Gang-do tries to tell the people to run, but gets knocked over by the monster. The creature then runs toward the populated area, while everyone seeks shelter. This monster charges in a mobile container filled with people and begins swallowing those inside. Suddenly, an American soldier attempts to free the people with Gang-do, but the monster rushes out of the container. They chase after the monster and try their best to stop its destruction, but nearly get killed when the soldier is badly wounded by the creature. Gang-do tries to save the man by hitting the monster's tail, but the attacks are ineffective. The creature turns around and forces Gang-do to flee quickly. Hyun goes outside the convenience store, looking for her father, only to find that everyone has disappeared. Gang-do quickly grabs his daughter and runs for safety, but in the chaos, he realizes he has grabbed the wrong person. He turns around, only to see the monster charging towards his daughter, taking her away. The creature jumps into the river and swims to the other side. Gang-do tries to chase after it, but watches helplessly as his daughter is taken into the water. The army soon arrives to block off the area, and the people mourn their family members' deaths as a large community funeral takes place in the shelter. Hyun's uncle, Nam-il, arrives with tears in his eyes after hearing about his niece's death. The family embraces each other, falls onto the floor in sadness, but instead of helping them, reporters surround them and begin taking pictures. Sometime later, a government worker in a biohazard suit approaches the people and inquires about those who made physical contact with the creature. The people hesitate to admit their involvement, but after repeated questioning, some reluctantly raise their hands, including Gang-do, fearing legal consequences. More people in yellow suits rush into the building to quarantine the families. They forcefully take Gang-do away while his family pleads for them to stop. It turns out that the American soldier who has assisted Gang-do survived the monster's attack, but fell ill soon after being infected with a virus carried by the creature. The government withdraws their military forces and deploys specialized teams trained to handle virus outbreaks. Meanwhile, they arrive at the hospital but are surprised to see the lack of quarantine measures, as even the doctors are not wearing masks. Gang-do receives a phone call at night and immediately recognizes it as from his daughter. He tries to ask for her location, but the signal suddenly cuts out, waking up the rest of the family. The monster continues to attack humans, killing quarantine workers and taking them to its nest in the sewers to store as food. Hyun manages to slip out through a drainage opening and examines one of the workers brought in by the monster who has drowned and is expelling water from his lungs. She finds a cell phone on the body, but it's not functional anymore after being submerged inside the river. Meanwhile, At the hospital, Gang-do tries to convince the police that his daughter is alive, but the officer thinks he is crazy and asks a doctor to give him a mental evaluation. Realizing that their daughter may soon be killed by the monster, the family tries to sneak out of the hospital. They make a dash towards the elevator and into the parking garage where they arranged for a vehicle driven by gangsters to pick them up. And eventually, they successfully escape the hospital. After their escape, the gangsters demand a hefty sum from the father for rescuing them and providing guns and a government vehicle to help them blend in. He has no choice but to give them all his savings and credit cards. After some time, they drive towards a police checkpoint and try to pass through, but a police captain identifies them as wanted escapees from the hospital. Left with no alternative, Hee-bong bribes the officer with their remaining money. The family begins searching for Hyun in every sewer system marked on their maps, but the area is too vast to cover comprehensively, and they have no idea where the girl might be. Namil complains that their search is futile, but his sister silences him, insisting they have no other options. Suddenly, they notice his movement ahead and readies their guns to shoot. Namju feels water dripping from the ceiling, and they fire multiple shots only to realize that it was nothing. However, it turns out that there are two boys hiding nearby who narrowly escape being shot by the family. The two boys are homeless, and the older brother decides to steal food from the nearest convenience store, which happens to be owned by Gang-do on the beach. The younger boy wants to take their money as well, but his brother stops him, emphasizing they should only take what they need to survive. After ransacking the warehouse, they head out with the bags of food, but suddenly see the monster coming towards them from under the bridge. They sprint back towards shelter, but the monster closely chases them as the boys run desperately for their lives. Moments later, Hee-bong goes back to their store and sees that the doors have been forced open. He pays it no attention, and they continue having their dinner, imagining that Hyun is there with them as well. Meanwhile, the girl is trying to survive by gathering water from the sewers, but sees the monster approaching and quickly pretends to be dead. The creature drops the homeless boys, and she notices the younger brother is still alive. She does her best to save him and shield him from the monster. After some time, Gang-do spots the creature outside their store. Despite the father's attempt to shoot, he misses and the monster charges, pushing against the structure until it overturns the father, continuing to fire. After the creature halts, the family exits to find it wounded by gunfire on the ground. Namil fires at the monster, which prompts it to run towards the river as the family continues their pursuit. However, they soon run out of bullets as the creature jumps into the river. Hee-bong tells everyone to stay back as Gang-do give his father the gun with the last bullet. The monster turns back towards them again, while Namju tries to shoot it with her arrows. The creature charges at the father and he fires the gun, but it turns out that Gang-do miscalculated and there was nothing left to shoot. The father turns around and calmly instructs the family to flee as the creature overruns him. The creature grabs him by the leg and slams him to the ground while everyone watches helplessly. Gang-do runs towards his father's lifeless body and cries in sorrow, but they can't stay there for long as the police are heading this way as well. He tells the siblings to run away to find Hyun, also tries to leave but is overwhelmed by grief and gets captured by the police. At night, Nam-il seeks help from his friend, who works at the phone company. They sneak into the office building and begin tracing Hyun's last call. They find her location, but the friend goes into the manager's office and reveals that he betrayed the man by informing the police in order to obtain the bounty money. He sees them coming after him, quickly turns off the lights, escapes from the office, and locks his pursuers inside. He manages to escape the building, but realizes the police are chasing him too. He jumps under a bridge to avoid detection, then calls his sister and texts her Hyun's location before fainting from the pain of his fall. Namju sees her brother's message and runs towards the sewer where her niece is. She goes under the bridge and heads to the entrance while calling Gang-do about her location. Suddenly, she sees the monster running towards her and tries to shoot it, but gets knocked into a ditch which luckily prevents the beast from reaching her. After learning his daughter's location, Gang-do tries to escape the hospital, but is stopped by the doctors, who continues to perform painful experiments on him. A researcher reveals there is no virus and that the government is using it as a distraction from the monster's origins. Gang-do overhears this, prompting the doctors to lobotomize him to silence him. Meanwhile, Hyun is trying to comfort the boy by asking him to think about what they'll eat after getting out. She creates a rope out of the clothing of the victims, ties a police baton at the end, and throws the rope on the platform, managing to make a secure rope. Before they can escape, The monster comes back, which forces them into hiding. They watch in disgust as the creature begins throwing up the bones of all the humans it devoured. The monster notices the children and tries to capture them, but is unable to as they hide inside the walls. Meanwhile, Gangdu takes a doctor hostage and rushes outside only to see that the officers are relaxing and barbecuing like they're on vacation. He takes a vehicle by threatening to kill the hostage and rushes towards the location of his daughter. In the meantime, Nam-il wakes up after being rescued by a homeless man, persuading him to help in rescuing his niece. They gather alcohol bottles to make numerous Molotov cocktails, preparing for a deadly confrontation with the monster. Hyun wakes up after hiding from the monster's attacks and notices that the boy is getting sick. The girl peeks outside and sees that the monster is sleeping. She tries running for the ropes, but is quickly ambushed by the beast, which grabs her and puts her back on the floor. She sees the boy outside as well and runs towards him, trying to save his life while the monster chases after them from behind. Gangdu arrives at the nest, only to see that it's filled with bones and that his daughter is nowhere in sight. Suddenly, he sees the monster passing above him with an arm dangling from its mouth. He starts chasing it, and his sister, who has also woken up, joins him. They follow the monster as it swims in the river towards the gathering of protesters on shore, complaining about the quarantine and the illegal experiments. However, the people quickly notice the monster approaching them and flee in fear from the area. The police begin shooting at the creature as it emerges onto land, while the military positions chemicals closer to it. They release gas into the area, which incapacitates the creature as it writhes in pain. Gangdo rushes toward the monster's mouth and attempts to pull his daughter out. He succeeds in rescuing the girl, who is still clutching the boy she was protecting, only to discover that his daughter had died some time ago. He carries the girl towards the family, and they cry as they embrace Hyun's lifeless body. Gangdo decides to take vengeance for his daughter and begins attacking the monster with a metal pole. Nam-il tries to help as well and throws Molotov cocktails at the creature, driving it away, but failing to land a direct hit. The homeless man sneaks on top of the creature and begins pouring gasoline on it as it watches in confusion. Namju ignites her arrow and shoots, engulfing the monster in flames. The monster attempts to flee back into the water but is fatally stabbed by Gangdu, who had been hiding nearby. The creature collapses, taking its final breath as it succumbs to the flames and dies. Gangdu notices that the boy his daughter was trying to protect is still alive and carries him to safety as he stares at the aftermath of the chaos. Sometime later, Gangdu has adopted the boy as his own son. The two have dinner together and continue to live in the convenience store by the river while snow begins to fall, signaling the arrival of winter. What do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please hit the like and subscribe to the channel for more content.